Hi guys, today I'm here to do a review on the F1. It's one of the new blasters that Azrael's Armory has. One of three. There's the Extremis MK7, the SBR, which is the mid-range version of this exact rifle here, and this one here is the F1, so F1 Titan. This thing here is full metal, bar the handle and the stock. The stock really solid. It's a really nice solid stock. I love the L shape there. The gearbox is ambidextrous, so you can change fire select on both sides. So you got single, safe, single, full auto. You got a metal mag release here. The rack, so it racks back as you draw it back, which is a really nice touch. It's a skeletonized alloy receiver. Your mag well there is exposed as well. It's also skeletonized. Metal outer barrel. The flash hider that comes with it is also metal. It's a really nice touch. This thing here is firing about 280 foot per second out the box, so no mods required. Hook, it can take an 11 volt, 7.4 is recommended, but it also does take an 11 volt. The gearbox in this is APS Silver Edge. It's already been converted from factory, so no need to mod T-piece, tappet stroke, nozzle, everything else like that. It's just plug and play. So basically you take it straight out of the box and you can go skirmish with this thing. You can chuck a hop up on the end. It comes with a 7.2 stainless steel inner barrel, I believe, which is a really nice touch as well. It does take the Warntrust Milkies, which is what I've been shooting through it. It leaves like a nice little pop sound when it comes out. With these, they don't come with blowback, but if you take the rack here and basically bend out the little pins where it meets the piston, you've got blowback. This thing is really, really loud. You can hear it a mile away on the field. I've added this scope. It doesn't come with that scope. It's got a metal charging handle, 18:1 metal gears. It's a V2 tappet that's been designed for gel ball. So APS have gone ahead and done that for everybody. So like I said, straight out of the box, this thing is a performer. Metal trigger, comes with 480 motor. Like I said, this thing is awesome. It's probably my new favorite blaster, hands down, best out of the box I've ever felt. It's nothing like anything else. It's also very different. As you can see, the handguard, it's got a nice grip for your hand, so you can grip it nicely. Unlike, it's also a key mod, so if you want to go and add all your attachments to the sides, things like that, that's fine, your torch on the sides, but you will need the M-LOK adapters to do so. It comes with a Gen 8 mag, so this thing is compatible with Gen 8 magazines. Click straight in. They also take the Warntrust Tracer mags. I was using them at a game on the weekend. It ran a treat. Also comes metal buffer tube. I've added this sling here, but I'll show you the box that it comes in. This here is the box that it comes in, Azrael's Armory. Really quality stuff, so not like your typical Chinese stuff where it comes in that beige brown box with just crappy plastic on the inside. It does come with 10,000 rounds, just your standard gold packet Milkies. I prefer the Warntrust Milkies, to be honest, myself. I just find I get better grouping out of them. They are a little bit bigger, but the 7.2 in a barrel doesn't hinder that. So you got a nice foam packing inside this box here. As you can see, it is the shape of the F1, so no chance in damaging it. This thing is quality, so really nice quality box. Comes with safety goggles, a magazine, 10,000 gels, and hydrate them and you're ready to go. This thing here, this box I used to transport this blaster to the game, as it was almost a disgrace not to. It's so high quality. But like I said guys, tune in to the next review I'll be doing on the Extremis and the SBR, to give you guys a bit of a heads up on what's going on in there. Now we're going to delve into the gearbox and find out what really makes it tick. Okay guys, we're about to do a breakdown of the F1 Titan from Azrael's Armoury. I've changed the grip myself, so they can be changed to whatever sort of AEG style grip that you like. The motor that it comes with is basically a generic 480, but it more than does the job. This here is the grip that it basically comes with, so you get a better idea of what it looks like. I actually like that grip, but I just prefer my own grip, and that's simply all I've done there. To take this front end off, basically all we're going to do is there's a little pin here at the front, so we're going to take that, basically push it down, pull it out, slide your front end off. Charging handle just sits in there, catches onto the end of your bolt here. After that, we have two little screws inside the handle that you'll want to remove to be able to take the handle off. You'll see them in there if you take the bottom of the grip mount off. Sorry about the light guys, it's not the best lighting, I know. But I want to show you guys exactly what makes this thing tick. So pull them wires out gently, don't reef on them as you can cause damage. As you can see, it comes from factory with silver wire, which is pretty good. Next is the catch here. So there's a little tiny flathead screw in there that you'll see. This thing can be a little bit tricky to get out because the blaster basically stops you from keeping it straight, the receiver. If you don't take this out guys, you won't be able to get your blaster apart. You'll be wondering why she isn't coming out if you try and pull her apart like a regular Gen 9 or a regular V2. I've already taken the little pin out of here, so you want to punch that little pin where that little hole is, punch that out, so set that off to the side. Then you want to take off your mag release. So with these blasters guys, you don't take off the buffer tube at all. So we'll just unwind her off like so. Pull the little spring out, mag release will fall out the back. And then from there, there's a little pin just here. So same thing as the front, just punch it out. Should just come straight out like so. Pull it all the way out. These pins don't come all the way out guys, they don't have to. From there, we'll need to take off our fire select. So take your hex head. Make sure you use the right size guys. When you take this off, be very careful because there are two little steel balls underneath here that basically lock in place as you select what fire mode you want. If you lose them, it'll be very hard. There's also a little spring there, so just be very, very careful when you take them off. I'd imagine that they're very hard to replace. Make sure you set them aside where you can see them and won't knock them off later. Like I have once done, it become very difficult to find. The springs can sometimes shoot out, so just be very careful. And now this gearbox is ready to come out. Okay. Okay, so here's your ambi fire select. Basically, just take note of where everything goes. So there's a little pin here holding this first one on. These two bigger ones basically just sit in place like so. Make sure they're in the right spot. I'll show you guys how to put that back together soon so you end up with the right fire select. This little catchment here, basically when you rack it back, pull your charging handle, this will sit there like so. Now we're going to take this little screw off. she will come off like so. As you can see, that little spring is actually incorporated into the gearbox. You don't have to actually take this off, guys, so just be aware of that, that doesn't actually need to come off to get into your gearbox. Basically, if you take that off, you'll have to reassemble it. Personally, I'd just rather leave it where it is. This little fire select gear here, basically you can just ply it off. It is a little bit of a jiggle, but it comes out. So just take note of where that goes. Okay, as you can see, they do come with bearings. First thing you want to do, taking the gearbox apart too, is also just make sure your spring is out. The last thing you want to do is basically pull your gearbox apart and have that spring retainer shoot you in the face or put a hole in your wall, because that's exactly what it'll do. Now we're going to undo the gearbox, so take all your screws out. When you get into the gearbox, take note of where any shims are. If you have any shims come off and you put them back in the wrong place, it can cause damage to your gears. Just be very careful of that, guys. Next you will see your mag terminal block. You want to take a little screw out that sits just in the bottom here. And now this gearbox will come straight apart. Just give it a little ply up. Don't try and force it apart, guys, because things can explode, and when they do, it can end pretty badly. So as we can see, it's the APS Silver Edge gearbox. Okay, so it's a little anti-reverse latch and spring. The gears are a cast gear, which is more than enough as long as you're not pushing stupid motors with stupid springs, and if the shimming's slightly off, it can end pretty bad. Take the cylinder out. So as you can see, they have changed the nozzle from factory. That is a rather long nozzle compared to gel ball style nozzles. The tappet plate is very similar to a V2. Notice the extra catchment on the tail, basically to allow enough drawback, which they've also combined with a sector delay. You can see the metal trigger here. This switch block looks like it may be rated to 20, maybe 30 amps. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and switch that out for a 30 amp Lonex SHS switch block. I might even do so once this one burns out. I'll run it till it goes. If you keep it stock, you shouldn't have any drama with it. You can see the piston here basically comes full metal rack piston. Now last time I went into an APS box, the last two teeth, sorry, were metal. The rest of them were nylon. So that's a big jump. That's a very good upgrade for this gearbox. We are working with a ported cylinder. Ported cylinder for this barrel length, I'm not exactly sure why they did it, but this thing shoots straight. It shoots, like I said, 290 FPS out the box. So I'm probably going to go ahead and leave that in there. But yeah, guys, as you can see, that's the APS F1, which the Extremis and the SBR run the exact same gearbox, exact same internals, they're just a different external body. The receiver is nylon, so you can hear that tinging, alloy, you can hear that tinging away. The return spring, that is a really nice quality, strong return spring, so that will give you a good seal in time. As you can see, it's all silver wiring. They've even got heat shrink as protection. So that's a really nice touch. I really like the terminal block here that they have added. Last time with an APS box, we had to 3D print some to get them to work with mags, as APS don't come with them, obviously. So yeah, guys, that's the Silver Edge right there. We'll put it back together in a minute and I'll show you how to get this thing back together and running again. Thanks guys. Okay guys, about to show you how to reassemble it. So just make sure everything is in order. Basically stretch that back, release, should shoot forward. I'll keep the bearings greased guys, so chuck some grease in there, just pack them in nicely. Do it to the sector gear when you're inside the gearbox. As you can see here, they've used a 70mm cylinder, so it's slightly shorter than the standard. It's just to allow for that extra stroke. They have machined the inside of the gearbox where the nozzle goes and on your tappet rail. It's just to allow for that extra stroke back to be able to feed gels rather than the 6mm stroke. So what we're going to do first up is make sure that you've got your fire select gears. So I'm going to put one through like so. I'm going to grab the other smaller one. There's two smaller ones, two bigger ones. The smaller ones basically go on the end of the shaft. You'll see a little D shape. So that fits over the shaft like so. Then you want to take the other gear for this side that doesn't have that little piece there. That little piece is for your selector plate. So basically for now we'll just put them anywhere. I tend to go sort of horizontal. So there's like a little square there. It's where your actual fire select will go into. So I like to get it yay so. Then I like to make sure my tappet plate is back. So about there. That little circular notch in the gearbox there is basically where this gear is going to go. So that, there we go. So once again it's horizontal. We'll fix up this side. So hold that in place. Take this gear back out. Can be a little bit tricky. If you don't make sure it's horizontal guys, it won't flick over properly. So just make sure it's all correct. So that's about right. Now this will be on auto when I put it back into the receiver. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed this wire down into the buffer tube, mag, the motor terminals, down through the bottom of the receiver. Then it should slot in like so. Make sure it's all lined up. Pop your pin back through just to hold it all in place. So that should still be horizontal, and that's still horizontal. So what we can do then is, because basically it's on full auto, so you want to put the little silver ball, I nearly just lost it. That's what I mean about these little silver balls guys, they're so fiddly. So it'll be in full auto. So I'm going to make sure this little spring is lined up on that little ball, and it should just click in like so. Then you want to take the screw, put it through the center there, screw her in. Make sure it's not too tight, but still tight enough that it won't come out while firing. And we want to do the same thing here guys, so basically put the little silver ball in the safe slot. Make sure this little spring here actually lines up on that little ball. Otherwise you won't feel it click when you change your gears. This can be pretty frustrating. So now, let's back that off a tad. We should be able to select, so safe, semi, full auto. That's how you get the gear select in. You can go ahead. What I like to put in next is your bolt release. So basically, guys, I'll hold this up for you. It goes through here, and there's a little section for your bolt release point that you want to slide that through. There's like a little rectangle square. I don't think you'll be able to see it on the camera, but if you look down into the mag well, you'll see where that sort of sits. There's a little rectangle in there. You want it to sit just in there. Then once that's in there, I'm going to take this, put it through the side like so. Make sure it all lines up, and make sure it doesn't come out once in there, else it won't rack back and catch, which is a nice little feature of this blaster. Okay, it's all still in place. Now screw it all back together. Once it all lines up, that screw will go through. So basically, when we push this back, once we get back far enough, it'll catch, and then hit this button and it will release, like so. Okay, now that's in place, we can put our mag release back in. Basically it all lines up. This mag release sort of speaks for itself. Make sure it's screwed in nice and tight, guys. That should work nicely. Then we can slide on our front end. So just want to line it up, make sure your charging handle is back in first. Make sure it's the right way with that little catchment going in on the bottom. So I want to slide that in like so, and then slide this one straight over the top, and it'll just line up nicely and wrap it back through. From there you can go ahead, put your handle on. Just make sure it lines up in the right hole, guys. You basically see where they line up. And that's your handle back on. Put the two screws in. Try and put one at like 2 and 7 o'clock, so on opposite ends. Don't put them parallel with each other. You want one on opposite sides. Put your motor back in. Make sure your negative is to negative, and the motor will be marked with a little red dot where the positive goes. Screw the plate back on, and away she goes. Okay guys, all back together now. Put the motor in, secured it, plug a battery in, and fire up. She's ready to go. Thanks guys.